This is Rob Tebbutt for Boxing Social in association with Betfred. Delighted to be joined by my comrade, Neil Marsh. We are the Monday after David Avanesyan's stunning 6th round stoppage win over Josh Kelly. Neil, first and foremost, congratulations on the win. Talk to me about it. What a weekend.
Yeah, it's fantastic, mate. Unbelievable. You know, you don't get many nights like that in boxing, especially with a lad like David, what's really fight for things in the away corner many, many times. So it's a special moment in my boxing career, mate.
Just talk to us about that. I mean, we've seen David throughout various build-ups to this fight. We finally got there in the end, but throughout various build-ups, kind of had this very cool, calm focus about him until that final bell went, or when the towel come in, and we saw this release of emotions from him. Just talk to us about what David was like after that and what it meant to him.
Oh, I think throughout the whole process over the last 2 years, David hasn't spoke much. Don't like I said it to Darren Barker. Like Darren was a nice, he is a nice guy, and you know he didn't show that nasty side. But some fights, if he wanted to be nasty, even though it wouldn't look like that from the offset in interviews, and that was the same as David. He was like, "Oh, I want to do damage here. You know, you make me wait, I make you pay. You know, and that's it. Really, he really wanted to make a statement that night, and he did. So I'm proud of him.
Talk to us about that opening round. Josh Kelly came out, fast start from him. Were you anticipating that?
Not really, but we was prepared for it. I said in all in the build up that you want to come out fast, we'll stop it earlier. You want to run like a thief, we'll chase you, we'll catch you, and we'll do what we said. And so yeah, so no, I didn't really expect it. It wouldn't have been me top of the list of all the extra, because it's dangerous, isn't it, coming head to head with a Russian on a mission. But you know, they have their tactics. Adam's a great coach. They have the reasoning behind it, and you know, he chose the way he did. So no, I didn't really expect him to come out as much as fast as he did. Can I take this off now as well? Only did it at your request when I've shown it, yeah. But yeah, proud to wear it. Being an Englishman with a Russian hat. But yeah, so there you are.
How quickly into the fight did you sense a turn? Was it? I mean, a lot of people are talking about Josh Kelly's kind of stamina after 4 rounds. Some are saying slightly earlier. When did you sort of see the change in the tide?
About round 3, like Carl's executed it gave a perfect game plan, and David's executed it well. It was like we wanted to hurt him to the body, we wanted to get him close, and then when he was feeling it with the body, we wanted to throw the big right hand, which, you know, you've probably seen him miss it a couple of times, but he executed it to perfection. I think about round 3, first 2 rounds, I was thinking it's hard. We knew it was going to be an hard fight, but until the boys are in there, you don't realise how hard. And you know, he's shown some glimpses, and he rocked David. I think it was round 2. He rocked him, but David just come straight back at him. And you know, we expected David to be able to take Josh's punch. We didn't think he was a massive puncher, and unfortunately, everything was right. So probably about round 3.
You mentioned Carl there, of course, Carl Greaves, who's the trainer of David Avanesyan. How much credit does Carl deserve? I mean, he's worked with David Avanesyan now for 5 years. We saw him, I mean, he's kind of keeps himself to himself, not somebody who likes the limelight, especially Mr. Greaves, but we saw how much it meant to him indeed after the fight as well.
Yeah, unbelievable. I said it, you know, on somewhere else after the fight, that it was like people said Adam had never took a fight as serious and he really needed to win. Carl Greaves had. It was like an illness to him. You know, he was ringing me up 10 hours a week. He was watching every single Josh Kelly fight. He's probably watched them all, every single one, even early on in his career, just looking for flaws and cracks. And it was this. And I don't stick my nose in with coaches. You know, I say my opinion, but I keep a lot of it out. And the more we talked, it was the right plan. And, you know, I had no doubt he deserves a lot of credit. He doesn't just do the boxing side of it, he looks after them. You know, when you've got a foreign fighter who doesn't have many friends, obviously he's getting more well known, but Some coaches won't do it, and he's picking him up, he's taking him, he's making sure he's happy. It's a man. He's doing a man management skill himself, and taking care of the kid outside the ring in Nottingham. So, massive credit, huge credit. And Carl's, a lot of people say what I find wrong with boxing is you'll mention a big name in boxing, and it's, oh yeah, he's a good coach. But some of them have got fighters who are presented to him for the home corner with the promoters backing. David hasn't had that with David hasn't been in that situation with Carl. Carl's had to work the hard way, and we have to work that. When you're in a way fight, you've got to work that little bit harder, I believe. Huge credit, massive respect.
What did you make of the stoppage? Fair stoppage? Did you expect the towel to come in when it did?
Yeah, Adam Booth's smart, isn't he? He's a 26-year-old man, world-class potential. He's taking some big shots. He's been put down. I think it was a smart move, so yeah.
Mentioned that world-class potential of Josh Kelly, of course. One loss doesn't necessarily define a career. He can come back. Many fighters have done in the past. How much do you think he will learn from the fight with David Avanesyan, and do you think he will still one day become world champion?
Yeah, each fight, it's hard for me to say because I'm not Josh and I don't know the kid. I don't know him anywhere. All I know is different fighters take losses in different ways. And I just hope that with all that ability that he doesn't take it bad, and he learns from it. Like, look at David when he got knocked out off Kowalowski's, Why can't Josh do it? Josh has actually got a better skill set than David. So, I forget the controversy with me and Adam. Adam's a good coach. We know that. If anyone can bring it out of him, he can. And I don't know, when you say, can a kid become a world champion just so easily? It's not easy to become a world champion. There's that many, can Josh reach European level? I've got absolutely no doubt. Depending on his development between now and then I'd like to make the casting comment then, because it's so hard at world level, and you need a lot of luck as well. You don't just need an ability and who's the champions, what if you have, for example, and you're never going to get four Floyd Mayweathers, but if, say, for example, it's Spence, Crawford, Pacquiao, etc., and you've got to go to America and try to snatch the belt off them. I know Pacquiao will be retired in a couple of years, probably in the next year. So it's not just about how good you are, it's who's the champions, what your promoters prepared to do for you, who's in your way. There's lots and lots of stuff that you've got to take into consideration. So I don't know if he can become a world champion. He's got world-class skill set. There's no doubt in that. But he's got to push on from this loss. And I hope he does. I really do.
You mentioned Adam Booth there, and it's nice to hear you praise him and credit him for his skills as a boxing trainer. What's the situation with you and him now? Obviously, we were there. We've seen kind of the hostilities, should we say, between you and him over a period of time now. All under the bridge now.
Yeah, it was all. We brought it to an end in fight week. Any war, any battle, there's always an end. There's always a peak in a mountain where it'd been brought to an end, and Adam had respected us. And it was strange. It was like, not there was all this hostility and everything over years, and two camps who really didn't like each other. A few things happened, and me and Adam are sat talking with respect. That's boxing. It's crazy. He understands a lot about me. I understand things about him, and respect is earned in combat. And we respect Josh and Adam, and they respect us. And yeah, so no, there's no point carrying it on. And also, I think you've probably seen on Sky, obviously Adam had texted me, congratulations, and he took the defeat very, very well, and so did Josh. And I went back, I was Josh. Forget the win, I was Josh. I followed up on it the day after. We had caring for each other's teams and congratulating. And, when people treat you like that after such a bad rivalry, you've got to have respect for him. I've always respected him as a coach. I said it on that on the famous press conference. You know, this was just, it built from that. We never hated Adam Booth. We just didn't like how we were treated. Now that's well behind us. The kids have got in the ring. I don't hate Adam Booth. I actually respect him for pulling Josh out the fight, for turning up, and for the respect they've shown us after. So yeah, so it's well done. It's gone. It's gone. You know what? Man, next time me and Adam see each other, we'll probably have a coffee. We'll shake hands. You know, and he's put a lovely tweet out. You know, so that's done. Closed book in my eyes.
That's great to hear, and that is the one thing that, I mean, that we're always having to tell people who don't follow boxing or are not familiar with this funny old sport that we're involved in, that you know, you can be the worst of enemies 1 minute, and then after 12 rounds, or 6 in this instance, you know, the bond between fighters and obviously rival trainers and managers and coaches is a unique one afterwards. So that's really good to hear.
Yeah, definitely, mate, 100%.
So the big question on everybody's lips is, where next for David Avanesyan? I know that you'll have some ideas in your mind. I can see the cogs turning in your head. Where next for Avanesyan?
You've got to accept the climate, and the climate changes. The 147 division is stacked. It's the champions, you know, like Errol Spence is with one promoter who's got many potential challenges. Crawford again. David would fight any of them. Be under no illusion he would fight any of them, anytime, any place. It's hard for me to break into that market. Be under no illusion. He's got a promotional deal with Eddie. He's got another fight with Eddie. So it's down to Eddie to work his magic. You know, Eddie's a huge promoter with a huge platform, with a fighter who's got a huge profile now. You know, and I just hope he delivers us something. And failing that, you know, most of it was positive. I put out a tweet about Amir Khan. You know, we spoke about that a while ago, and people say, "Oh, well, why would you step backwards? Why would you not step backwards? He's a great fighter, but why wouldn't you? Why would you go to Khan? What? Because look how big the name is, and there's a big purse involved in that fight, and we genuinely believe we could beat him. You go and beat an Amir Khan, you're an even bigger name for these Terence Crawfords and Errol Spencers. So, you know, I'm going to campaign with the governing bodies. I'm going to send a few emails, try to get him a little bit higher ranked, and hopefully we can, whatever his next move, it's got to be meaningful. I'm not just going to go into another Josh Kelly type fight just for, you know, do good TV numbers. It's got to be somewhat meaningful, you know, financially or productive in forward in his career. So, you know, I'm going to have a good chat with Frank Smith. I've already had a chat with him. You know, they bring us something. Of course, we commit to him. You know, we just give the kid an opportunity. You know, let's be realistic here. He's been to Spain twice. Devastating form. He did a tick-over fight with Del Rios to keep active and help build the Josh Kelly fight. He's had to sit on fence for a year. Come on, he's had all these pullouts. He deserves a break, doesn't he, Rob? You know, deserves a. We've never had anything. We've never had anything given to us. Nothing. Just give us a little bit. We'll show appreciation. Just give me lad a fighting chance for getting against one of them big names, and just enjoy the show. So that's our plan going forward, mate.
And as you mentioned, 147 pounds is a stacked division. Even outside of the world champions, there's still, I mean, just rattling off the top of your head, you've got Danny Garcia, Sean Porter, you know, all of these guys who are kind of, they don't hold belts, but they're big names and certainly bring their own appeal with them. Now, one fight I want to ask you about, and I'm not sure it does fit into that, but I did speak about it on Twitter the other night, so I'm going to ask you anyway. What about Danny Aryalusinov?
Right. When there was a big question mark over the Josh Kelly fight, we got offered Yulusinov in America, and X amount, similar money to Josh without going into contractual privacy. And David said, "Yes, my friend, when his fight, let's go." Well, no problem. But Rob, you was in the media now. What's Yulusinov got for us? He ain't got nothing.
Yeah, he doesn't bring a title. He doesn't bring a huge fanfare. No.
Make it for final eliminator. Let's go. No problem. You know, and then we get one of the big boys. we'll do that, no problem. Pay as well, give him a final eliminator. Game on, no problem at all.
I love that fight just as a boxing fan, but obviously I understand the politics around it. If they can make that as a final eliminator for the, I think they're both well ranked with, I know David's well ranked across the board. So yeah, that would be a fantastic fight if that can be made. I'll certainly be asking Eddie about that, and hopefully he can get some sort of final eliminator for it. Moving on, unfortunately, Saturday night wasn't all celebrations in the Neil Marsh camp. Robbie Davies Jr. coming up short against Gabriel Valenzuela. First and foremost, what did you make of the fight?
It was very close. I've just been asked with someone else. Let's just put it out there. If Robbie hadn't been knocked down, he won that fight. You know, you take 2 points off the other kid. The draw is a win for Robbie. And the two 95, 94s, I think it was, their change. He'd won the fight. And very close fight, really tough kid with a big punch. You know, if he had won that fight, it'd be a different conversation now, wouldn't it? It'd be, look at how did Robbie box like that in Southpaw, pick him off and just get over the line. Because every great fighter's had to scrape over the line in fights. And, you know, it could have been a different, and if he hadn't been knocked down, his mentality would have been different between the next couple of rounds. You know, he'd have been more sweat. You know, he might have been able to put his stamp down on the other kid. But when you get knocked down and your kid stands up, first of all, it's to get your head back clear, focus again. So it sort of changed. That happening early just didn't help us in any way, shape or form, Rob. You know, it was an uphill battle from then. But, you know, he's all right and he wants to go again and we'll go again. And it's my job to get something to catapult him back in. And there's names out there in them world rankings that aren't as good as Robbie, aren't as good as the Mexican kid. But they've just been promoted well. And I think Robbie can still pick people off. And do not write Robbie Davies off. You know, so that's what I'd like to say about that fight.
You mentioned there, Neil, about him boxing in Southpaw. Now, that was a big talking point throughout the fight. From the outside, at least, and what we heard in between rounds, it seemed as though Robbie wanted to box orthodox, whereas his trainer, Dominic Ingle, insisted that he stayed Southpaw. How much of a bearing do you think that had on the fight?
Yeah, me and Dominic have had a chat. I respect Dominic Ingle so highly. You know, I've worked with many coaches, and he's as good as I've worked with, full stop. And I won't have anyone say any different. And it's the first time I've ever worked with Dominic Ingle. He's explained to me the reasons why. Not that he needed to explain to me. He said to me, this is the reasons why. And I'm not going to moan. I respect his decision and I understand his decision. You know, it was that right hand which was a danger. And, you know, if you don't trust, you know, Robbie trusts his coach. You know, he's worked very, very hard for a year. He's made huge sacrifices. And, you know, like I say, if he hadn't gone down, we'd be saying Robbie Davies has boxed in Southpaw when he was a bit uncomfy and done a world-class pick and run. You know, it'd be a different conversation, Rob. But unfortunately, we didn't get the result. And, you know, the problem, one of the social media is brilliant if used correctly. But the problem is it gives many, many people a voice. And some people who have a voice don't have the experience to make the decision whether that was a right move or a wrong move. Me, Robbie and Dom, we've spoke in detail. And Robbie's raring to go again. He's back up the Ingle gym at end of week. And it's my job for getting back going. So, you know.
And I appreciate it's very soon after the event, but I also understand that in your position that you would have certainly had thoughts about it. What kind of timescale could we expect on his return to the ring? Because it's worth pointing out as well, and this is something that kind of is a recurring theme throughout the Saturday night. The fight was a great fight. Robbie Davies Jr. versus Gabriel Valenzuela was a great fight. Admittedly, Robbie Davies came up short, but I think I speak for a lot of fans in saying that, you know, we'd much rather those tough tests, and there's no easy fights when you're kind of around that top 15, top 20 in the world. But what sort of level is he looking at coming back at?
Yeah, I've got a couple of ideas. You know, I've seen a couple of names out there, and it's just hoping that we get that opportunity. And one of the names I've already got it back in my head is in top 10 in the world. And what's important is after that fight with that kid, even though we took a couple of good shots and he did go down, if you'd have put both the kids together at the end of the fight, you'd have seen who took the biggest shots and who took the Mexican kid was marked up massively. So it's just getting him that one fight against the right opponent, and there's a few of them there. And you know, like I just said 10 minutes ago, say for example, you get pressure ranking, just for example, you pick a kid off number 10 in WBA rankings, just for example, and then you say, let's do the Ritson fight. Now, where Ritson, you know, he's got his own plan. I've got big respect for Lewis. Might not have wanted to revisit that because it was a war. You might then sort of think, well, I'd take Robbie in a rematch. First fight back after fans are back in the stadium. He goes and beats Lewis Ritson. He's number 1 in the world. And I go over to David a minute. When David got beat by Kavalauskas, it was finished. But look what he's put on the back of it. And I do believe with Dominic, he'll get better and better and better. So it's just about getting that one right fight and having a stab at it and having a real good go at it. So that's what I'm on with. And when you said a time period, I'm going to sit down with him this week, have a coffee. I've spoken to him on the phone, checking how he is and seeing him in the venue after the defeat and different things. And I just want to enjoy his family. You know, he's just had an hard fight. You know, he feels his whole world has fell apart, but it's not as, it hasn't fell apart as much as the other defeats. It's, you know, there's no easy way to take a defeat, but it's not as harsh as it was in the past. So I'll let him have a little quiet time on his own, and then we can regroup. And what's important is, what does the kid want? Does that kid want that another crack at getting back up there? And if he does, I'll deliver it for him. And that's all. That's it. So time scale. Robbie's going back up the gym on Friday. Robbie might say, he already has, get me back in that ring. But me and Dominic's got to speak as well. And by the time I sit down with Robbie, we'll see what damage has been done, or, you know, how he's recovered. And because it was an hard fight, and rest is as important as the training in preparation for a fight.
It certainly is. Right. Well, Neil, I think we've covered all bases there from Saturday night. Again, as I started the interview, just want to congratulate you on a fantastic win for David Avanesyan this past weekend. It's been a long time coming. It was very well worth the wait as a boxing fan, and I'm sure it was for you as part of Team Avanesyan. Thanks very much, as always, for speaking to Boxing Social. Look forward to catching up with you sometime soon. Neil Marsh, congratulations.
Thank you very much, Rob. Take care.